so we are going to discuss the 4 types of factoring. So you've seen these 4 types when you were in Algebra 1 in the 9th grade. You've also seen these 4 types in Algebra 2 in the 11th grade. And so for us to continue with the next unit, we need to discuss these types of factoring. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the greatest common factor, then your difference of squares, then your trinomial where a equals 1. And so I'm meaning basically something like x squared plus 6x plus 8. And then trinomial where a is greater than 1, meaning the very first number, it might be 2x squared plus 3x plus 5. Okay, so let's take a look at our greatest common factor. All right, so when you're looking at these, what you want to figure out is what can I divide by both of these numbers, the greatest number, okay? And so when you're looking at that, and I'm going to rewrite it over here so I have room, I automatically notice I can divide both of those by 6, okay? But you also have to look for a letter. Do they both have an x, okay? Since they do, and this is like an x to the first, you will have a greatest common factor of an x to the lowest power that you have. So I have an x squared, I have an x to the first. X to the first is its lowest power, okay? So the 6x to the first is my GCF. Now, when you factor that, you divide your coefficients. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. And when you divide variables, you subtract the exponents. Okay? So x squared divided by x to the first, when I subtract the 2 minus 1, then I just get a 1. So that's just an x. Okay? 12 divided by 6 is 2. And then x to the first and x to the first will cancel. So that will be my greatest common factor, 6x, and then this is the answer factored out. Okay? All right, and then this next one, I have 12x plus 42y. So when I look at it, I want to figure out what can I divide by 12 and 42. So some people think, let's think about 12. Can you divide both of them by 12? Okay, no, you can't. But you can divide both of them by 6. Okay, then look at your letters. Do both of these have an x? Okay, no. Do they both have a y? No. So the greatest common factor is just a 6 this time. They have no letters in common. So the 6 will go on the outside. And then 12x divided by 6 will be 2x. And 42y divided by 6 will be 7y. Okay. And then this last one, so when you go to do it, you have 4x to the 4th plus 24x to the 3rd. Okay, so I'm looking what number can I divide by both of these, and that'll be a 4. Do they both have an x? Okay, yes, they do. So they both have an x. What's the lowest power? The lowest exponent, which is a 3. So that will be your GCF. So 4x to the 3rd. Okay. So that 4x to the 3rd comes here, and now I'm going to divide. 4 divided by 4 is 1. X to the 4th divided by x to the 3rd, you subtract the 4 and the 3, and you get 1. So it's just an x. 24 divided by 4, that's 6. And then x to the 3rd divided by x to the 3rd, that 3 minus 3 will be 0, so those will cancel out. And that would be your answer. Okay, so I'm going to leave the A, B, and C for you to do. And then let's take a look at the next type. All right, so our next type of factoring will be your difference of squares, okay? So first thing when you're talking about difference of squares is it must be a difference, okay? In other words, you are subtracting. And then of perfect squares. So your perfect squares are numbers that when you take it and multiply it by itself, that you get like 1. So 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. 7 times 7 is 49. So forth. So 8 times 8. 9 times 9. 10 times 10. So forth. Okay. So these are some of your perfect squares. All right. When you are factoring a difference of squares, so first off, is it subtraction? Okay, so yes, it is. Is this a square or an even number? Because you can also do, so this one's an x to the 4th, this one's an x to the 8th. As long as it's an even number, you're good. And then is this number a number in my list of perfect squares? So yes, okay. So what you're going to do is do the square root of each one. So if I do the square root of y squared and the square root of 16. Okay, when you do the square root of variables, you just take half of the exponent. Okay, so if I take half of 2, that's just 1. So the square root of y squared is y. And then the square root of 16 is 4. So this will be 2 parentheses. You'll have a y plus 4 and a y minus 4. Okay, and basically your reason here behind the plus and the minus, when you take the square root of anything, it can be a plus or a minus of that number. Okay, so that's your number 1. So let's look here. It is subtraction, so that takes care of my difference. Is 4 a perfect square? Yes. Is 25 a perfect square? Yes. So I'm going to take the square root of each one. So 4x squared, square root of 25. So the square root of 4 is 2. And then the square root of x squared, take half of that, which is just x. Square root of 25 is 5. And then it'll be a plus and a minus. So this will be 2x plus 5, 2x minus 5. Okay. All right. And then again here. So let's do x to the 4th and then the square root of 16. Okay. When you're taking the square root of a number that's higher now, you just take half of that. So half of x to the 4th is x to the 2nd. Square root of 16, positive or negative 4. So that'll be rewritten as x squared plus 4, x squared minus 4. Okay, now when you look at this now, this one, there's nothing you can do here. Okay, but this parentheses is another difference of squares. Okay, so it will have to continue. So this one will just drop down to x squared plus 4. I can't do anything with it because of the plus sign. And then this one, when you do the square root of x squared, you'll get your x. You do the square root of 4, you'll get your 2. And then you'll have a plus and a minus. So this one factored one time, and then that one piece was able to factor again. Okay. And then this one will factor, but I'm going to skip over to this one and do it real quick. And we just won't worry about this one right now. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do, square root of 9x to the 6th, square root of y to the 8th. Square root of 9 is 3. And then half of 6 is x to the 3rd. Square root of y to the 8th, I take half of the 8, and I get y to the 4th. And it will be a plus and a minus. So 3x to the third plus y to the fourth, 3x to the third minus y to the fourth. Okay? And so that is your difference of squares.